Let's talk about your book, Ready to be a Thought Leader. Why did you decide to write this book, and why did you do it right now?
I look back and I think, what was I thinking? It's so much work to write a book. I'm really similarly passionate about this topic, as I say other people get passionate about what they're passionate about. I've had a journey of my own from leader to thought leader. I call myself an accidental thought leader. I was running this nonprofit, and I had this opportunity to be one of 3 or 4 people in the United States who knew anything about high growth women's entrepreneurship. You know, how do women build big businesses? And at the time, the economy is going crazy. There's tons of women starting these kinds of businesses. There's finally money for women entrepreneurs. And so I'm getting all these calls, and I have this chance to be in front of public forums and be serving on boards and getting a chance to really articulate the message of what it takes to do this, why it matters, what people should do to do better for women. And this opportunity and this trajectory just kind of led me all over the world and led me to make a difference in a way that I'm proud of and very much enjoyed. And then a few years go by and I get a call from a friend of mine, and she says, you know, Denise, I really want to be a thought leader, you know, like you were. And I remember thinking to myself, I was a thought leader? You know what? That's such a weird word, because it's not something you necessarily, it's not a term you necessarily heard back then, and it's not a term you necessarily apply to yourself. And so that was a gift in some ways. And she said, I want to sit down and create a plan. So we did. We sat in our living room one day and we created this 5-year plan of how she could go from unknown to being this thought leader in her field. And not only did she go from unknown to thought leader in her field, but kind of blew it out of the park in 3 years, and went from building this program within her company, building it then across her industry, gaining a lot of platforms to push a very important message forward, testifying in front of the US Senate, recognized by the White House, and eventually headhunted by the governor of California to do that same role at the state level. And when you see that trajectory, for me, it was such a wake-up call to realize you don't have to do this by accident. You don't have to be in the right place at the right time, which is what I was. You actually have an opportunity to build a thoughtful plan and really make a change happen in the world, and then take a broader platform to move that forward more broadly. That was the message I wanted to share. So I started teaching it in workshops, at conferences, and to people whenever I would have the chance, and I would tell her story, and people would say, I want to do that. And so going back to what we talked about, people kept calling me and saying, hey, I heard you did that with her, I want to do that. That's when you know you have a business, right? So that's the good news. But secondly, I then got an email one day from this woman at Wiley, and she said, you know, have you ever thought about writing a book? And so I took the visual that I had created from the workshop. I'd hired a graphic facilitator, and she'd done a document that highlighted the steps that I had outlined in the workshop. And I took this and I said, yeah, I'd love to write a book about this. And the woman said, yes. It was a very simple conversation, and that became the ground upon which I built the rest of the book. Because the steps that I had at first were not what the final ones were, but I felt very called to share this experience. I wish I'd had this book in the early years of my career. I wish somebody had taught me how to take that so much further. What I was doing at the Forum for Women Entrepreneurs, there was a much bigger story. And when I got involved with that across the United States and had this chance to make this bigger impact, brought me so much joy. Well, what if other people could do that? What if they could move their points of view forward? If they could move their change more broadly? That's what I wanted to create for people.